everyone. Welcome and thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited to follow up on CPAL's most recent webinar with staffing industry analysts using DEI technology to build a diverse workforce. During that webinar, CPAL's founder and CEO, Samir Panakalapati, and SIA's lead DEI analyst, Francesca Profeta, had an in-depth conversation about how technology can help organizations achieve their diversity goals, a very timely topic. I'm Erica Cornier. I formerly served as Vice President of Strategic Planning and Business Development at the New York and New Jersey Minority Supplier Development Council. In this role, I built alliances that expanded opportunities and programming for diverse suppliers. So as you can imagine, I'm delighted to be here today. We had a very engaged audience for our recent DEI webinar, and we ran out of time to answer all of the very thoughtful questions that were being asked of our panelists. So we wanted to follow up. With that in mind, we brought Samir back to answer those questions. We also have today with us Jim Lucier, who has a long track record of working on DEI initiatives in our industry as well. Thank you very much both for being here today. I want to get right into our attendees' questions, and we start with the basics. So first off, Samir, I'd like to ask you the following. What is the purpose of DEI technology?
The purpose of the DEI technology is to build a diverse workforce.
So Jim, after hearing Samir tell us about technology can address the diversity gap, I'd like to ask you, what type of diversity, equity, and inclusion are assessed?
So the AI diversity algorithms help assess gender and ethnic diversity, as well as ethnic diversity within each gender, and also assess role and pay equity, all as similarly currently defined by EEO-1 reporting.
So our next question is for either one of you or perhaps both. What data is needed to provide DEI metrics?
The basic information we need to collect the information of employee data is the first name, last name, and location. We might need some additional data points if you want to have a different set of reports on wage parity. If you want to collect the wage parity information, you want to collect the equity parity information. So we would need, and then you want to collect the department-wise data facts. So those are additional data points. But if you want to start looking into a base information of employees by gender, by ethnic distribution, you start with a simple first name, last name, and location. How do you collect that information? Where do you collect it? Most of the corporations have their HR personnel, and there's just simply a click of a button from their either HR portal or through their Excel files data, just give us that information.
Jim, during the webinar and some of our related discussions and demonstrations, for example, the phrases sufficient accuracy and within a high degree of certainty have come up. Exactly what is meant by sufficient accuracy?
Well, sufficient accuracy simply means that the quality of the DEI metrics we produce is sufficient for providing valuable information to accurately assess and infer diversity, equity, and inclusion gaps within the sample data.
And Samir, we've talked about various demographics that AI can decipher and evaluate in terms of the talent pool. What are other types of DEI metrics that are available?
Yeah, I was talking about two things, right? One, full-time employees specific, and then one contingent workforce data specific. Let's look into the full-time employees. Apart from the gender and ethnic distribution, then we can further peel down into it. Like if you look into the gender specific information, then within gender, we can measure ethnic information. Like for an example, if we have 26% of women employees, then what is that 26% of the women employees distribution among the diversity? And then vice versa, you can do it for gender too. And then other data points we can look into it is how is this distribution looks by department, by geography. And then we can also measure wage disparity. We can also measure equity disparity among equity disparity among genders, among we have ethnic groups. So in fact, you have a lot of data points that you could collect at various stages that you could produce number of reports. And then if you look into the contingent workforce side, really you're looking into the sources of suppliers, right? Who are your best suppliers contributing to the diverse workforce? So look into supplier data information. And then you can also look into other sources of information, that you're collecting a freelance data point from different sources. So who are giving you that best diverse candidate from those sources? How do you know that? So these data insights would help you to find and focus on the data sources, the suppliers who giving you the best diverse candidates are your best bet. So you could focus on more on those type of suppliers and those type of sources, so that that you would make a tremendous effort to improve your diverse workforce by gender or ethnic groups.
Obviously, data and privacy are major concerns in the world of HR. So when it comes to using artificial intelligence to evaluate or audit an organization's DEI, how do you incorporate data privacy and security into such assessments?
Well, Erica, privacy, data protection, and security are all designed into the infrastructure, processes, and solutions. And they're all regularly audited to ensure compliance with all relevant data privacy regulations. And, you know, an important point to make, and I think we've made it several times during the webinar, is that the AI diversity algorithms are utilized only for the purpose of inferring aggregate gender and ethnic diversity metrics. There's nothing at the individual level. There's no reporting or use of any information whatsoever on gender or ethnic demographics on an individual level.
So beyond the obvious, then what other types of diversity should organizations be considering?
Yeah, so, you know, gender and ethnic diversity are just two aspects of diversity, but they also happen to be the types of diversity that are currently required, measured, and reported on EEO-1 forms. There's no single tool, technology, or platform that can currently assess every type of diversity. Maybe none ever will. But our AI diversity algorithms do provide critical information most organizations do not currently have, or really have a lot of difficulty gathering, analyzing, and utilizing in order to build a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive workforce, and particularly the contingent or external workforce.
So what do each of you see in the future? So we can start with Jim, and then perhaps Samir can add additional thoughts.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that CPAL is dedicated to the ethical use of AI and machine learning to help organizations build more diverse, equitable, and workforces today and well into the future. And again, that includes the contingent and external workforce. Samir can talk more to the DEI technology roadmap, but what I can say is that we're continuously expanding and enhancing and evolving current and future solutions to help organizations really achieve DEI objectives at scale.
Well, I'd like to thank you both for inviting me to participate in today's discussion and for offering your insights into the DEI challenges that all of us face in this industry. Also, for anyone that found this conversation as intriguing as I did, but happened to miss the webinar that began this discussion, I encourage you to sign up at the link provided, as it is now available on demand and definitely worth your time. Please do check it out. And again, thank you all.